Aloha and welcome back to part 2 of our Kauai adventure. In part 1, we explored South Kauai and crammed a whole heap into a really short time. We are now heading north in search of a more relaxed few days. We were all the way down at Salt Pond Beach when we started north, so drove almost the entirety of Kauai's road network. It took less than 2 hours to drive the 51 miles, even with stops, showing just how compact Kauai really is. On the way up, we just stopped at a few lookouts and beaches to take in the scenery and the beauty of the island, but we were eager to get to our accommodation for the next few days. We have done a bit of compromising on this trip and have chosen accommodation that were not ideal, but often cheap, but we were really excited about our lodging up in Princeville. It was not overly expensive, but was likely to be our favourite spot of the trip. As we arrived at Sea Lodge in Princeville, we were not disappointed. The unit was really nice with a spacious living area, fully appointed kitchen, dining area and a separate bedroom with large comfy bed. There are also lots of nice little thoughtful touches. It wasn't spectacular, but a really nice unit, especially considering the price we paid. However, the pièce de résistance was the view. That really is one for the memory bank. We especially loved the puni bed, which looked out over the ocean, a perfect spot to relax and take in the stunning views. Honestly, this view is even better in person than any photo or video can convey. After taking it all in, we headed out for a quick exploratory trip to Hanalei just down the road, stopping off at Foodland on the way back with supplies for the next few days. We then took a hike down to Sea Lodge Beach. This was more of a hike than we had been led to believe, and it was quite a trek really. The beach was small and secluded, but quite busy. Snorkeling was pretty ropey, with not a lot to see, and water depth very shallow. There was a turtle hauled out on the beach, which was nice to see, from a distance. After a while soaking in the vibe, we hiked all the way back up the cliff as the light was beginning to fade. Here we saw baby albatrosses lounging on the lawns and herds of nene wandering around looking for a meal. Back at the unit, we headed out front to watch the sunset from the lawns before cooking up a hearty meal of steak, shrimp, poke with a side of mac and cheese. A perfect evening. We started the day really early, mainly just so we could lounge around on the puni, taking in the sunrise. Afterwards we carried on just taking things really easy. With the last few days being so regimented and planned, we realised today we had no real activities or plans at all for the next 2 days, with the planner literally just saying, explore. So we did, the first stop being the famous Tunnels Beach. Parking was a real issue here, and the locals really do not take kindly to visitors. In fact, this is the most unwelcome we have felt in Hawaii. After waiting our turn, we got a spot in the main parking lot and hiked out along the beach to the better snorkeling reefs. The waves were pretty wild and the conditions not great, but there was still lots to be seen on these reefs, only these were definitely not beginner conditions, and the slightly murky water felt very sharky, with large sections of blue water off towards the ocean. Overall, it was a pretty tense snorkeling session. We then moved further up the beach where the reef split and gave access to a channel between the reef and a small islet. This was too intriguing not to check out, so I headed back out for a little more snorkeling. Here the conditions were even more extreme, with strong currents running along the channel, but there was some amazing coral and lots of turtles. But also lots of dark black holes with God knows what lurking in them. We had now been on the beach for a good few hours and decided to make our way back to civilization to find something to eat. On the way we explored the dark and mysterious Hanalei caves, which annoyed the cars waiting to park, but it needed to be done. The caves go quite a way back, so remember to use your phone's torch as the floor is pretty uneven and it's properly dark in there. We eventually yielded our parking space and set off for Hanalei town. We parked up in Hanalei and explored the small and cute backwater town. There really isn't too much to the place. It's kind of like the village time forgot, really sleepy and quaint, and this is the only built-up area around, making this whole region really rusty and peaceful, although we really could sense a hostility from the locals to tourists. Eventually we found a nice bar with outdoor seating and a happy hour called Calypso, and we popped in for some food. The nachos were huge and the wings really good with a smoky Asian twist. All in all, a great happy hour with some really good Mai Tais. We had not really done much today, but we were still recovering from a busy few days, so simply headed back to the unit to enjoy the amazing view and just soak in the stunning location. Even at night, the view from the lanai was pretty stunning. Another day and still no real plans, so we just decided to repeat yesterday and hit some beaches. This time we headed to Anini Beach, which our condo was pretty much overlooking. From our unit we could see the turtles swimming in the lagoon, so we headed off to join them. Parking was again a challenge, but we got lucky here and got a spot in the main lot, and just hiked off to a quieter part of the beach. This is a really beautiful stretch of coastline, and we just enjoyed hiking the beach, looking for good places to snorkel. The reef here is really shallow, and at times when snorkeling I was in literally inches of water, trying to find my way to the deep parts. There were lots of fish and several turtles, but it was really hard work staying in the water deep enough to swim. Tides are crucial here, and at low tide this area is basically unsnorkelable, if that's even a word. Eventually working my way out to a deep channel, and the snorkeling changed completely, transforming into a spectacular wall dive. Lots of predatory fish stalking up the channel looking for food. We then moved further down the beach right towards the far end and Wiley's Beach. Here the snorkeling was not as good, but it was quiet and relaxing, so spent some time just soaking in the rays and enjoying the wonderful setting. Out on the reef, water clarity was poor. The combination of the Anini stream and the wind just made the water very cloudy. I followed the channel out to the edge of the reef where conditions were pretty wild, and to be honest there was not too much to see. Overall a disappointing snorkel, but a truly amazing location with a real lost world feel to it. After getting back to the condo and changing, we went out to pick up some dinner. We had spotted a nice pizza place in Hanalei town, so popped over to pick up a whole pie. This gave us some time to explore the shops around Hanalei a little more. We then took our pizza back to the condo to enjoy one last amazing evening on our stunning lanai. The last day would see us leave Kauai with heavy hearts. We still had a whole week left, but the end could be felt drawing near. The weather had also turned. Thick cloud and sporadic rain had taken over. We watched the semi-finals of the Euro Championships on the lanai, which amazingly England won, booking our spot in the final against Spain. A very surreal tournament for us. We then just packed up and headed off. We stopped for lunch in Kappa Town at the Olympic Cafe, which offered some decent local cuisine and some great specials, before exploring the inland regions of Kauai a little bit. Hunting out the less than spectacular Opeakaka Falls. With heavy cloud cover and waning morale, we then just made our way reluctantly to the airport, getting ready for our island hop over to the Big Island. Again, this was on Hawaiian, and after quite a long wait in the tiny departure lounge at Lihui, we boarded the 50-minute flight over to the Big Island. This time, we bagged the best side of the plane and got some amazing views as we flew into Kona. We have some amazing adventures coming up on the Big Island, so like and subscribe to follow along as we explore volcanoes, beaches, jungles and the oceans on Hawaii's newest island, still very much under construction. Thanks for coming along and mahalo for watching.